Well, we've got Ray Dorset, aka Mungo Jerry, on the line with us here. How are you doing today?
Yeah, pretty cool. It's very cold, but it's a lovely, bright, sunny day, and I've just been with my wife on the beach, having something to eat, a late lunch.
Oh, lovely.
So, yeah. Actually, I don't know where are you based? I'm in Bournemouth.
I'm in a town here called Falkirk.
Falkirk! I've been there, but years and years. It's such a long
wow.
time ago since I was in Scotland.
Yeah.
I detect the Scottish accent. Lovely accent, actually.
Well, thank you.
By the way, last week I had a vegetarian haggis, would you believe, for my dinner, which I like. Do you eat haggis?
I've never had it, to be honest. It doesn't sound very appealing.
How can you not eat haggis when you're a Scottish person?
I don't know.
Well, you'll have to change your ways.
Yeah, maybe. Now, you're one of the people who have came together to work on this new song about saving the planet, basically, haven't you? So
it's a whole album, actually, because I wrote the song. Well, I didn't actually write the song. Phil G, as he likes to be known, came up with the concept, and he wrote a lyric which he passed on to many, many, many people. He'd never written a song lyric in his life before, and he said, come along and do what you can with it. And I came up with this idea, and obviously they liked it so much that we actually used it as one of the first singles to promote this Minds Behind the Music album. And I decided to give the lyrical section that he wrote a title and called it A Plea for the Planet.
Yeah.
And I put that as the last track on the new album that I've been recording. Well, completed the recording now.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting people mixed up with this project, isn't there?
Definitely, yeah. And because we had this big COP26 climate conference a few weeks ago, is the timing just a coincidence, or was it perhaps inspired partly by that?
I think, to be quite honest, I didn't really speak to Phil about that, but I think it was purely coincidental.
Yeah.
I think it was. If it wasn't, it's a great job of engineering. Although the things that I'm concerned about don't seem to have been addressed by the COP26 conference. They haven't touched on a lot of the things that I think should be changed, because I'm very much interested in the quality of life being improved for everybody in our country or in our kingdom, the United Kingdom, whatever you wish to call it, whether Scotland wishes to stay in with England or they don't. I mean, over the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, there's always been a conflict between England, Scotland, Wales, and the rest of Europe, in fact.
Yeah.
So, but at the end of the day, everybody in every country are people that really should have the opportunity to enjoy a certain quality of life, and they're not being able to at the moment, not only because of global warming, but because of the fact that so many organisations and governments turn a blind eye to the amount of rubbish that's being produced and that is polluting the rest of the, we say, I don't like saying the planet, but it's the planet Earth. It's the whole planet Earth is being polluted and drowning in a sea of rubbish, as far as I'm concerned, which doesn't help the ecological system. It adds to the global warming, and it adds to everything else.
Yeah, that's the thing. This conference has probably done nothing overall.
No, all it's done, I think, is put money in the pockets of the publicists, politicians, travelling and staying out expenses and everything else. I haven't actually heard any promise by any politician or anybody speaking at COP26 that seemed reasonably feasible. I mean, this phasing out of all these like petrol and diesel vehicles, whether they're cars or whether they're trucks or whether they're buses, I don't think it's a possibility. I mean, it'd be great to come up with another form of power that would power everything as we wish it to be, but it's running away with itself, and I don't think it's possible. At some time, everyone's going to start having to pay for the electricity that's guzzled up by these vehicles. And I was great. I was out in my son took a Tesla for a test drive, and it was absolutely brilliant, absolutely fantastic, being an electric car. And I love it that in a car that's not making loads of noise. I mean, I drive fast cars, but I don't like all the noise that they give out. So maybe it's my old age. Yeah. I don't know. But one thing I can say is you get a good ride on these electric cars, and they're nice and smooth and they're nice and clean.
Oh, yeah.
But how many of the cars have got like a a distance capacity of over 300 miles. It's few and far between. They get great for getting around in the town and the city, but if you've got to go from, say, Bournemouth to Edinburgh, you'll have to stop off for a couple of hours on the way to recharge your car.
Yeah, or fly, which would be even worse for the planet.
Yeah, well, they say that, but I mean, the thing is, aeroplanes don't use petrol, do they? They use paraffin or something like this. But then again, we keep talking about this, the carbon footprint through air travel and every kind of other means of transport. But if you go back to the days of yore, when a lot of the local travel was done on by using animals to pull them around. It might not be so good for the animal, but if you got horses doing a poo in the street, that poo would be used as a fertilizer in somebody's garden or in somebody's small holding or in somebody's allotment. If it didn't get guzzled up and used by a farmer. So this is recycling at its foremost, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't happen anymore. I'm totally against factory farming. I'm totally against the breeding animals for their fur or for their bones or whatever. But at the end of the day, if you investigate how the buffalo was utilised by the American Indian, just about every part of that animals was used for something. Whether it be for shelter, whether it be for clothing, for food, for everything. But unfortunately, because these multinational business consortiums, or whatever you like to call corporations that have evolved in the United States of America, they took away all the land from the American Indian and got rid of all the buffalo, starved the Indians, so in order that they built railway tracks out there, you see. So everybody, the blame for global warming, the blame for the deterioration of quality of life is not necessarily something that's happened in the past few years or the past 50 years, 100 years. It goes back and back and back and back. So, and if you go back to 1918, for example, at the end of the First World War, London people were dying in their thousands and thousands from a flu. I think it was a Spanish flu, or whatever it was, and all the germs and things were being passed on because all the excrement and all the pollution and everything was being channeled into the River Thames. So the River Thames was the most polluted and dangerous river in the whole world.
Wow. At
the same time that London was kind of the capital of the British Commonwealth. So, it all goes hand in hand. Then they improved the sanitation and started throwing all the rubbish further and further down the Thames so that it got pushed right out to sea and polluted the sea instead. So in the end, you start getting fish swimming around in the Thames again. But, whatever you get, you have to pay the price for. Everyone can have anything they want. You could say that. But whatever you want, whatever you have, what any person has, it comes at a cost. You don't get anything for nothing. You don't get something for nothing.
Yeah.
So whether you give up your personal freedom, whether you give up your money, whether you give up your quality of life, the price has to be paid for everything. Sorry to go on about this, but these are my thoughts. Yeah. And these are some of the issues that interest me in this Minds Behind the Music programme.
Yes.
And this is why I'm happy to be involved with it and donate my years and years of experience in the music business or industry, whatever you like to call it today, and see how we can get people more interested in taking a few matters into their own hands as well to help. But when the politicians say to people, come on, you should be thinking of other people and wear a mask, I don't think a lot of people think about other people in so much as maybe politicians or whatever would like to think or to display. But if you said wear a mask, look, they say wearing a mask doesn't keep you safe, it keeps someone else safe.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. It shows a bit of respect that you're caring for somebody else. But at the same time, if everybody was told, if you do this, it'll protect you, it'll save yourself, it'll save your family, people do things more for themselves in general. I'm not saying everybody, but in generally, people will do more for themselves than they will for other people. So and really, that's probably a good thing, because if you can't be well yourself, if you can't be 100% fit yourself, and healthy yourself, you're not able to give your service to others. So in a sense, when people think of themselves, they're also thinking of other people without them realising it.
Yeah, that's so true, actually. So, in terms of the actual album, what other people have been working on it?
Well, there's a whole mishmash. There's a number of people involved with this project. And the book, incidentally, the book in the book, it's got people as diverse as, say, Francis Rossi from Status Quo to Frida Payne that sang Band of Gold.
Yeah.
So, and on the album, I think we've got Simon Kirk, brilliant drummer from Bad Company, and Free, to like great new or indie type band like Dr. Z rather.
Yeah.
So there's a whole. I haven't actually got a copy of the album yet myself.
All right.
So I'm yet to listen to it all, but. It's a great thing that Phil G's put together. He's donated a lot of his time and effort into all the things into getting this because of his concern, despite the fact that he's got issues of his own, serious issues of his own to deal with. He probably doesn't want me to mention that or speak to it, so I won't say anything more about it. That's for him to decide and talk to himself. But I've had a long chat with him today, and I've said what I think. But where can we go with this? It was just a great shame that on the COP26 debate they didn't show some videos of what are especially my one, the one that Plea for the Planet, which it's not footage that you see in the background that's been made for a disaster movie. It's stuff that's actually happened.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's fires, there's earthquakes, there's volcanoes erupting, there's animals dying, there's rubbish everywhere. We've got ice caps melting. It's not coincidental that this is happening. On my first long cruise that I went on, I was horrified at the amount of rubbish that was thrown from that ship into the sea. And that's how they dispose of the waste. If you keep throwing stuff in, it's the theory of displacement, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? If you got a glass full of water or any liquid, and you put a big, say, nut and bolt in it, it's going to displace the water that's in there and push it over the edge, and the water's going to run over the edge of the glass.
Yeah.
So if you keep filling the sea up with rubbish, it's going to expand. It's going to get polluted. It's going to get messed up. It's going to affect the life that's in the sea. Look how bad the coral is deteriorated in the Great Barrier Reef.
Oh yeah.
Look how much and all this dig everywhere. Digging. I was in Australia in 2019. I was shocked about the amount of mining that's going there. We're sending all the coal over to China because it's supposed to be a much higher quality coal from anywhere else. But you could be driving in Australia one day and there's a road, and the next minute the road's gone because it's been turned into a mine. They're digging up something and the road's been moved somewhere else.
Yeah.
There's got to be a consequence that every people always digging somewhere and digging things up and taking oil out, taking gas out, taking silver, gold, salt. And the sad thing is, I mean, now around where I live is by the Jurassic coast. There was mining, on the cliffs and things around here, going down towards out from Swanage onwards on the Dorset area and going into the Jurassic coast down to like Purbeck Hills. And then when it's no longer economical to take the stuff out of the ground, the miners or the people that are digging the rocks out of the quarry, they just abandon it.
Wow.
And it goes, and they go and set up somewhere else. So I hope I'm not driving you mad with all my complaints, but they're all it's all quite factual. It's something that people should be aware of. It's something that politicians should be aware of. But how many politicians are actually in it for the good of the other people, the good of the individual in their country? Yeah. All these politicians say, "Oh, we got to get Labour into power. We got to get the Conservatives into power. We got to get the Liberals into power." Is it about getting their party into power? Or why don't all the brains get together and come up with the best issues, whether they're Liberal or whether they're from the Monster Raving Loony Party or whatever, and put all the brains together and work on the way to do things? Look, most of the politicians, they're not scientists, are they?
No.
have learned something else. They might be in economics. They might have got a degree in English literature, if you like.
Yeah.
How has anyone qualified to say, right, this is the way a virus spreads, so this is what we can do to address it? My opinion is, I've got no problem with having a vaccination. Yeah. I grew up with vaccinations at my age. You know, we had polio injections, measles, diphtheria, whooping cough, the lot. You know, that we used to get all this stuff. So maybe people say it's how can you say their liberty is at risk because they're being forced into having a vaccine before they're allowed to enter a nightclub, for example. But it's a personal choice. At least as far as I understand, there's no actual law coming into the UK about that if you don't have all the jabs, you're going to end up in jail. It's against the law. But nevertheless, I think you can't dismiss the fact that vaccinations work. If it wasn't for measles, I don't know about now, but measles was the most contagious virus in the world. Yeah. And funny enough, when I was in New Zealand in the autumn of 2019, I read in a newspaper that there was an influx of measles appearing in New Zealand. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not reported in this country. See, we're not saying about it. But measles is highly contagious, and I had it very, very badly. When I was young, I had to stay in a darkened room for a couple of weeks and wear an eye shield. So measles, there's lots of stuff out there. And I think it was, I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday on the news, 2 women that have had cesarean operations contracted herpes and died from it.
Yeah.
Right, because there's a new strain of herpes. Herpes is a virus connected to like shingles, and shingles is related to chickenpox. They're all viruses. An antibiotic won't kill a virus. I expect you know that, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you need an antiviral.
And the over prescription of antibiotics throughout the world has resulted in germ-resistant or what do they call
antibiotic
it? Antibiotic resistant germs. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And it goes on and on and on, from sexually transmitted diseases to all kinds of other diseases.
Yeah.
And this is what it always happens. It always happens. Do you want me to keep on and on and on complaining? Or should I stop? I don't know what. Are you a radio music station or what?
Yeah, we're a music station, but mix it in with interviews and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it makes a change to not be talking about how did you get the name Mungo Jerry, or what was your first record, and and all this kind of stuff. I could talk about that as well, but I don't know. I just find it interesting to shout my mouth off to you about all these other issues.
Well, in terms of the album again, how would you describe the overall musical style of it? Is it varied depending on who's doing each song?
Exactly. It's very, very, very. I'd say it was quite varied.
Yeah.
There's genres of music. But, I mean, I have to be honest, as I said to you, I haven't actually got a copy of the album. Yeah. Because I haven't listened to every track. I've only heard the ones that have been passed on to me. But they've got some great artists on there, very interesting artists. But it's good that the artists have lent their time and their efforts and their... what would you call it? Their...
skills.
Well, yeah, that's one word to use it. Yeah. The creativity, I suppose, for a project like this. But see, us older members of the music fraternity, if you like to describe us as that, would have a different take on the music business to the younger people coming into it, because it's practically impossible for somebody to actually come in there and make a recording and make any money out of it. I advise people, if they're interested in music and they want to record and they want to play, look upon it as a great hobby to have.
Yeah.
Don't think that you're going to go out there and you're going to make a living out of it, because you won't. I mean, it's even more and more difficult. Although the academies will have you think otherwise, because they want you to pay money to go on courses to learn how to be a songwriter, for example. Oh yeah. How to become a hit songwriter. Well, you could go, how to become another Picasso, how to become another this, that, or the other. You can buy books on all kinds of subjects about how to become this and how to become that, how to become a successful crime writer. Yeah. How to do it. It's not enough. There's just not enough room in the world for everyone to be known and make a living out of something that they enjoy. And it's even more difficult now because the consumer has got a great way to get music for absolutely next to nothing, which is by logging on to a streaming device like Spotify. But at the end of the day, the writer, the producer, the artist is going to make next to nothing out of it. And even on radio stations, you've got radio stations that are private. These oldie goldie stations, which is okay for people to listen to, but they don't pay much money. You're not going to get any money from the performance or the broadcast. The only money that anyone's going to make out reasonably from music is if the public decide to buy music on a as physical product. And if you consider that when the CD came into the marketplace, in its heyday, the price, well, I don't know when it was it in the mid-80s, early 80s? Early 80s. The CD then was around about retail price, £13.99.
Yeah.
I was in the Tesco's and I've been in Sainsbury's even 3, 4, 5 years ago. I remember seeing Rod Stewart, the best of Rod Stewart, all original recordings, £2.50.
Wow.
Michael Jackson, £3.50. Who's going to make any money out of that? That's in today's world.
Yeah.
It's not right. Things have to be changed. But is this another thing? Governments can pass laws to deal with matters like this, but they don't.
Yeah.
If someone's got a gripe, it has to become a civil matter. And if you get into litigation, you're going to end up paying about £500 an hour plus VAT for a lawyer. And if he goes to court into litigation, you're going to have to hire the services of a barrister as well. So people can't fight that. The average person in the street, even in the music business, they can't and they won't. But the government don't do it, because if the government decide that they're going to stop all streaming services, all the public that are paying their, was it $16.99 or something for a family Spotify membership, they're not going to get that anymore. And the family have to go out. If they want music, they're going to have to buy it. Yeah. But it's not right. Everybody wants something for nothing. You don't get anything for nothing. But us creative people that make music are expected to give their services around for nothing. Because where can you go these days? It's difficult to go anywhere without having music blasted at you.
Yeah.
Whether you like the music or you don't, you've got no choice. I mean, some of the supermarkets, I must say, have got better. They've got no music in it at all now. But some of these big DIY stores and these mega places, they blast away stuff, all sorts, all different, and they're not considering the demographic of the far wide demographic of the people, the visitors. So someone might like a bit of punk music in the background because it reminds them of their sort of mid to late 70s youth or teenage youth, but someone else might might have been into Duran Duran, they want to hear a bit of 80s music or whatever. And you can't please everyone, so it's probably better not to play anything at all.
Yeah, that's true.
The other thing is I will complain about, if I got the opportunity. And that's the fact that if a person goes shopping and they live on their own and they want a soft drink, a can of soft drink, they have to buy. In a lot of cases, you can't just buy one. You have to buy a multi-pack. Yeah. Same with yogurt. Same with eggs. Same with cheese. Same with fruit. Why is it that we got microplastic that's choking everybody up, yet they're using this horrible plastic nets to contain oranges or satsumas and some other fruit, and as soon as you break that net apart, little bits of plastic fall all over the floor or all over the worktop if you did it in the kitchen.
Wow, yeah.
Why is that allowed? It makes the transportations easier. People have to buy what they don't want. There was a time when you could walk into a store and say, right, I want a quarter pounds of broken biscuits, and the shopkeeper will say, we haven't got any broken biscuits. So you say, here's a hammer, break some. That was my little joke. But at one time, you could buy, if you want a quarter pound or half a pound of custard creams or chocolate digestive, you could get them. But now you have to buy a whole pack.
Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff says, say cheese or yogurt or ready cooked chicken breast pieces. You'll see it big. It says best before date. Yeah, quite big. Yeah, and you think, great, I buy that. There's enough in there to last me a week or 10 days. But little do you know, once you've opened it and then you look at the storage details, once open, used within 24 hours. Once open, used within 3 days. So unless you've got a big family, or you can go around giving it to the dog or the birds or the squirrels or your friends and family, you might have to end up throwing all that away.
Yeah.
And then if you decide to eat it and you get a bad stomach because it has gone off, because a lot of the time, best before is not the use by date. Yeah. This is what I always say, the small print should be the big print.
Yeah.
And now, what's even worse, and it was already bad, but I think it's got even worse. If you watch commercial television and see advertisements, at the end of the day, at the end of the ad, someone will speak at the most horrendous speed, faster than the speed of the Concorde, and tell you about terms and conditions. Yeah. Yeah. They should say that slow, so people know what they're letting themselves in for before they decide to subscribe to a new telephone service, before they decide to take out a life a pension and whatever. Because a lot of this stuff, people turn up, they pay a pension, a life insurance. Yeah. They don't realise that they're not going to get any money from it unless they die. They think they're going to get their money. They think if they pay whatever they pay a month for that insurance, they're going to get it back. But they're just paying for the insurance. The health insurance, people should be aware they pay health insurance, that the insurance company are only going to give you money like if you have got nothing chronic. As soon as you get something chronic, which you've insured yourself for, they don't want to know. They'll do everything they can not to pay you. And it's the same with the government. We call it the National Health we call it the National Health Service, which is absolutely brilliant. It's great to have a National Health Service, but you pay national insurance stamps. You pay national insurance. And when you take out an insurance, you get a book or a booklet or pamphlet or something which gives you all the terms and conditions contained within that insurance. But we don't get that from our national insurance, do we? Because it's called National Health Service. Yeah. Otherwise, we could say, right, we're promised that we're going to get seen to within 4 hours if you go to something like the outpatients department. Yeah. If you have an accident. Yeah. If you're seen within 4 hours, that's supposed to be good. Yeah. But you could have dropped dead. You could have dropped dead in that time. Yeah. So all you're going to get seen is that they're going to say, "Oh yeah, we've seen you. Great. Cross on you. Give you a death certificate." Yeah. And other things. It's a great excuse for doctors not to actually look you in the eye and see you face to face, isn't it? At the moment. Oh yeah. I've had open heart surgery this year, and it's been wonderful. They did a great job. They rebuilt my heart, kind of stuff. But I had to pay for it, because if I hadn't done it, I wouldn't have got in there, and you'd be talking to me out of a wooden box right now. So it's great that we got and it's the same. It's the same hospital. Is that if it was on the NHS, the same surgeons, the same doc, the same everything. But it's just that I had the ability to jump the queue because I was able to pay for it. Well, that's not fair, is it? Really? No. But then again, because I did that, it opened the door for someone else to get seen to that can't afford it. Yeah. But I can't say that I can afford it all the time, because every time I've been since, I'm still paying for it. And I'm just as I said before, my gripe is we're doing the Minds Behind the Music project, which is something that we're trying to do about making more people aware about global warming, the state of the ecology situation worldwide. But my gripe is not only that, because I think it's all relative, is the state and the deterioration of the quality of life for most people. Yes, definitely. And the money from the album is going towards the Born Free Foundation. So can you just describe what that foundation do, basically, if you know? If you want to find out all about the Born Free Foundation, you speak to whoever founded it. Because as much as I'd like to say that any income will be derived from the distribution and the streaming of this bunch of recordings, unless people buy it physically at the full price, it's not going to even cover the cost of the making of it.
Yeah.
But what it will do is make people aware of the subject matter that we're discussing here, and about how everyone can play their part in doing something about the state of their country or their world or their town or their village or whatever.
Yes, definitely. So, how are you spending Christmas this year then?
I wish I knew. I would love to know, because two of my boys are in Germany. My wife is German. They're over there with their studio and stuff. They're social media influencers, photographers, videographers and stuff like this. And we're hoping that they're going to manage to get back here and we're all going to have a Christmas together in the UK.
Yeah.
Up until 2019, because the pandemic kicked off in early 2020.
Yeah.
But news of the virus was out round about November 2019. And we actually did stay together for Christmas. But, for the few years preceding that, it's not nice for the housewife. I say this. Like my wife and a lot of wives would think, I suppose it's nice in a way. I have to wait on everyone. I've got to cook the turkey. I've got to do this. Or if they're vegetarian, I've got to cook the nut roast. Yeah. And I remember my mother, it used to be accepted in those days. And I'd go down a pub, as a kid with my cousins and our dads. And what the mums stayed at home, and it was okay in there. Times have changed. Times have changed, and it's not like it used to be. I had a great childhood with all my cousins. I got no brothers and sisters, but all my cousins and aunts and uncles. It was like one big happy family. We did everything together, but over the years things split up, and they've changed.
Yeah.
What about yourself? What are you going to be doing?
The same as usual, just with the family, innit?
Yeah, it's great. When the children are young and the grandchildren you've got access to your grandchildren and you can play with them, it's great for little children, isn't it? It's what a wonderful thing it is. But even years and years ago, my father used to say, "Son, Christmas is a racket." And I know what he means. It's more and more and more and more, nothing to do with what the Christmas celebration or the feast or whatever you like to call it is all about. It doesn't matter what religion you are. You could just look upon Christmas as a time to think of others and do a bit of good rather than a bit of bad. But all people are interested in now is how much money they can take in the retail.
Oh, yeah.
But it's lovely talking to you, Toby.
Yeah.
Anything else you wish to ask me?
Well, just where can we find the album if we'd like to hear it?
Well, I suggest that you just go into Spotify. I suggest that you have a look, go to YouTube.
Yeah.
And have a look for my track. It's called A Plea for the Planet by Mungo Jerry. And mine's behind the music. I've also put up the video and that track. And also Dr. Z has got a track up there. So just to get a taster of it, I don't know how many hits it had. We haven't even got into promotion yet. These days, it's not a big, you don't have to go into promotion in one big heavy thing.
Yeah.
See, a lot of stuff years ago, record companies used to promote and try and get chart placing. So if you sold a lot of copies in 1 week, you get a higher chart position. Yeah. Even if you sold next to nothing the following week, didn't matter. That's how I was in the same record company as the Jam. A guy that I was dealing with signed the Jam, signed them up. They got to number. They pre-promote their single several weeks before it was available, and then drum up demand for it. So all the fans would go into the stores, do an order, and they would hit the chart. Yeah. In my day, when in the summertime, that's my first single came out. There was no promotion or anything. It just worked. There's no in the summertime. One Monday morning before lunchtime, 75,000 copies were sold and paid for by the record company, by the distributors. You think nothing of selling 30,000 singles a day at that time.
That's incredible.
Yeah, if you sold 30,000 singles these days, you'd probably be number one for 10 years.
Yeah.
That was a slight exaggeration.
Yeah. And is there anywhere we can just keep up to date with yourself in places?
Yeah. Just put Mungo Jerry into the search engine and go to mungojerry.com or Mungo Magic. And if you go to Mungo Magic website, which I don't control, I do it. It's an amazing amount of history that's got down there, from date sheets go back to 1970s and connections with many other people. On my site, it's about like connections to merch, maybe some news.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much for joining us here on the show this afternoon. It's been great to chat with you.
You too. Well, Toby, God bless. You take care and have a lovely Christmas and New Year.